Welcome to Last Dawn Stories channel. In my previous life, unaware of the impending apocalypse, I was deceived by my reincarnated cousin into giving away all my money and the spatial jade bracelet. When the apocalypse arrived, they sold me to the Dragon Society as a public prostitute when I came to them for help, leaving me to be tortured to death. This time, I have also been reborn. I have been reborn, returning to 1 month before the apocalypse. In my previous life, the apocalypse came suddenly, and I was completely unprepared. After narrowly escaping death, I finally found my uncle's family. The uncle who had once been so kind to me suddenly changed his attitude. They sold me to the Dragon Society to become a public prostitute, leaving me to be tortured to death. It seems even the heavens couldn't bear to see the suffering I endured in my past life, so they've given me this lifetime to seek revenge. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and try to calm my emotions. Now is not the time to dwell on the past. I must change everything and make them pay the price they deserve. I stand up, walk to the mirror, and look at my reflection. Fair skin, delicate eyebrows and eyes, a smile as beautiful as blooming flowers, no less stunning than the female celebrities on TV. I sit at the desk, take out paper and pen, and begin listing my apocalypse plan. The first year of the apocalypse is marked by heavy rain, torrential downpours that continue non-stop for an entire year. The entire city will be severely flooded, and the neighborhood I live in will be submerged by the third month. The first step is to sell the house. The heavy rain submerged and destroyed most of the city's supplies, leading to severe shortages and the urgent need to purchase large quantities of survival essentials. After the second year came the extreme cold, with temperatures plummeting to over -50 degrees. Everything was frozen solid. The third year brought extreme heat. Following the deep freeze, temperatures soared, and the ice melted at an unbelievable speed, evaporating just as quickly. The bodies of humans and animals were left exposed, and the scorching temperatures exceeding 50 degrees accelerated their decomposition, turning the entire city into a massive fermentation pit. Later, gangs of all sizes emerged, while the government retreated to a corner, only admitting those with specialized skills into the safe zones. Everyone else outside was abandoned, beyond the safe zones, with no legal constraints and extreme scarcity of supplies. Killing for resources became all too common. I needed to learn self-defense skills. There was so much I had to prepare for. I clenched the jade bracelet in my hand, unknowingly applying too much force until I drew blood from my own fingers. I hissed in pain and looked down to see the bracelet absorbing all the blood that had stained it. Before I could react, the bracelet suddenly emitted a blinding white light and vanished into my wrist. Startled, I quickly examined my wrist and found a faint mark resembling the jade bracelet. Then, in a dizzying blur, I realized the space around me had changed. The area was as large as 2 football fields, complete with grassy fields and a small river. My heart raced with excitement. Was this the legendary spatial jade bracelet only found in novels? No wonder Linda deceived me into giving her my bracelet in my past life. No wonder they never lacked food or clothing. But how did Linda know there was a space inside my jade bracelet? She tricked me out of it even before the apocalypse. Could she have been reborn in her past life? Yes, that would explain it. Their sudden visit to borrow money was just a ploy to swindle funds for stockpiling supplies. Without further thought, I quickly outlined a general plan for surviving the apocalypse. First, I contacted a real estate agency to sell my house at 10% below market price as quickly as possible. Because of the discount, the house sold fast. I arranged with the buyer to hand over the property in 10 days. After that, I started hoarding like crazy. Today is the 5th day since I was reborn, and I haven't gone anywhere, just waiting at home. In my previous life, my uncle's family said my cousin was getting married, and the bride's family was very wealthy. To save face, they wanted to borrow $2 million as a betrothal gift. I gathered all the money I had and even mortgaged the family house to come up with the amount, lending it to them without hesitation. My cousin Linda said she was going to a party and wanted to borrow the bracelet left by my mother to make a good impression. When she returned, she cried and told me the bracelet was lost at the party. Considering they are my last remaining relatives, though deeply saddened, I let it go and didn't press the matter further. Thud, 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 a knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. I took a deep breath, stood up, and opened the door. "Kathy, you've grown more and more beautiful," Uncle said with a kind smile. I didn't respond, just casually waved my hand to signal them to sit down. "Kathy, we came this time because there's something we'd like to discuss with you." I nodded, signaling for them to sit down. I had already experienced this scene once in my previous life. "It's like this, Kathy, your cousin is getting married, and the bride's family is demanding a house, a car, and a bride price of 1.88 million yuan. Our family simply can't afford it all, and we're still short. Do you think you could lend us 2 million yuan? Don't worry, it's just for 20 days, we'll definitely pay you back in 20 days. Your cousin's wife said these are just formalities, she'll bring everything back after the wedding. Aunt's voice carried a hint of pleading. That's right. Little Kathy, your sister-in-law's family is very wealthy. When she marries in, her dowry will be twice the bride price. We'll definitely pay you back in 20 days. Cousin Jim spoke with conviction, watching their Oscar-worthy performance. It's truly a shame the Academy didn't give them a little golden statue, Uncle. But 2 years ago when cousin wanted to buy a car, you borrowed 400,000 from me. And last year for his house purchase, another 600,000. None of that has been repaid yet. Easy come, easy go, and it's easier to borrow again. Even brothers should settle accounts clearly. Besides, I can't come up with 2 million all at once. Kathy, we're your only family left. Can you bear to see your cousin unable to get married? He's the only male heir of our Smith family in this generation. If you really don't have enough cash on hand, you could mortgage your house. Don't worry, we'll pay you back in 20 days. Plus an extra 100,000 in interest. Auntie started guilt-tripping me, of course. We can't let the Smith family line die out. Auntie, how about this? Last time I lent you money, you didn't give me an IOU. Why don't you write an IOU for the previous 1 million first, and then we'll talk about lending you another 2 million. I softened my expression and spoke to them very gently. What's the need for an IOU among family? It's so distant. Uncle's tone was quite unpleasant. I didn't respond. The atmosphere suddenly turned quiet. It was Linda who reacted first, whispering a few words into Uncle's ear. Uncle Sam nodded with a displeased expression. Linda stood up, walked over to me, and affectionately took my hand, saying, Kathy, has someone been stirring trouble between us? Those outsiders can't stand to see our family getting along well. You mustn't fall for their tricks. It was indeed our fault for not writing an IOU when borrowing money before. We always thought families shouldn't be so formal about these things, but since you're worried, Kathy, we'll write one now. Hearing Linda agree so readily confirmed my suspicion. Linda must have been reborn. In her past life, she was reborn, which is how she knew my jade bracelet contained a hidden space. She knew the apocalypse was coming and understood that even if an IOU was written, they wouldn't have to repay it once the end times arrived. Now they still want to get money from me to hoard supplies. What a clever scheme this family has, clinging to me and sucking my blood like crazy. Uncle Sam quickly wrote out an IOU and handed it to me, saying, Kathy, the IOU is ready. When can you transfer the 2 million to us? I took the IOU and sneered. When did I say I would lend you the money? I only said I'd consider it earlier. Now I've made up my mind. I won't lend it. Uncle's face instantly darkened. They never expected me, who had always been so obedient, to suddenly turn against them. Cousin Jim suddenly stood up. Kathy, how dare you mess with us? I snorted coldly. Uncle also darkened his face. If you refuse to help us like this, we won't acknowledge you as family anymore. With a scoff, who cares if you acknowledge me or not? A bunch of leeches trying to suck me dry. Really think you're something special? Hearing my words, Cousin Jim flew into a rage. Abruptly stood up, and charged at me with fists raised. I had foreseen the potential conflict and arranged for 2 temporary bodyguards in advance. Just as my cousin swung his fist, they swiftly rushed out from the study, shielding me with their piercing eyes glaring fiercely at the 4 people before them. When my aunt tried to throw a tantrum and attack me, both bodyguards stopped her, realizing he couldn't gain the upper hand today. My uncle pointed at me angrily, gnashing his teeth as he said, You, just wait and see, the day will come when you'll beg for our help. Humph. With that, she dragged her aunt and her 2 children away, filled with resentment and anger. The next day, Linda came to my house alone again. With tears in her eyes, she said, Kathy, I know it's difficult for you to lend money, and I've talked to our parents. We're family, and they're no longer angry. I came today specifically to apologize to you. She also very sincerely handed over several boxes of nutritional supplements. I took it and gestured for her to sit. Seeing that I didn't react strongly, she seemed to relax. After chatting for a while, Kathy, I have a party to attend tonight and would like to wear your bracelet to make an impression. Could you lend me your jade bracelet? No, don't worry, little sister, I'll take good care of it. No, if there's nothing else, you should go. I need to rest. He stood up, walked to the door, opened it, and motioned for them to leave. Linda's expression changed for a moment before she quickly put on a smile again. Cousin, can I borrow your bathroom? I really can't hold it any longer. I didn't refuse, glancing at the jade bracelet on the table with a cold laugh in my heart. The bait was set. Now it was just a matter of whether the fish would take it. After seeing Linda off, I sneered at the now empty table. The apocalypse hasn't even arrived yet, and she's already stealing. Does she really think the law doesn't exist? That jade bracelet was a special gift I prepared just for Linda, worth 100,000 yuan, complete with an invoice and certificate. It's more than enough to guarantee her at least 3 years in prison. 2 days later, I smiled as I held the evidence the audit had given me, proving that my uncle's family had embezzled assets from my family's company. When I was 19, my parents died in a car accident, and my uncle's family rushed around to help me handle their funeral arrangements. I was deeply grateful. At the time, I had just started college and couldn't manage the company my parents left behind, so I entrusted everything to my Uncle Sam and his family. Yet in just 4 years, they secretly siphoned off 3 million in company assets. It was a small business to begin with, and they nearly hollowed it out completely. I took the evidence of my uncle's family embezzling company funds and Linda stealing the jade bracelet to the police station to file a report. With ample evidence, the police acted swiftly, and within 3 days, my uncle's entire family was detained in custody. During the investigation, the police also revealed a piece of information. Sam's family had once planned to hire someone to tamper with my car, attempting to stage an accident that would appear accidental and cost me my life. However, for some unknown reason, this plan was abruptly cancelled a week ago. Since they cancelled it before taking actual action, this alone couldn't be used to convict them. Hearing this news, I couldn't help but sneer. The company has stolen enough and now wants to finish me off to inherit my property. I should thank Linda for being reborn, otherwise, I might not have lived to see the apocalypse. With only 22 days left until the apocalypse, time is running out. Sending them to prison seems almost pointless now. My real goal is to force my uncle's family to come to me for reconciliation, so I can drain them of all their wealth. In the police station's reception room, seeing the visibly haggard Sam and his family, I felt a fleeting sense of satisfaction. The 4 of them sat across from me, their faces filled with unease and tension. Uncle Sam was the first to speak, his voice trembling slightly. "Kathy, are you really going to do this to us? We're family. Are you really willing to tear us apart over money?" I responded calmly. "Uncle, it was you who put money before family ties first. Reconciliation is simple. The company's 3 million, the 1 million you borrowed from me, plus an additional 500,000 in compensation, a total of 5 million. Once the money is in my account, I'll sign the settlement agreement." Upon hearing the figure of 5 million, Auntie shrieked. 5 million? Why don't you just rob us? We won't give you a single cent. You're just a little girl left in your family. The Smith family's assets should rightfully be ours. I sneered. "Auntie, the outdated mindset of favoring sons over daughters is long gone. Whether my family's assets belong to me or not isn't for you to decide. For 5 million, not a penny less." Cousin Jim suddenly stood up, pointing at me and roaring. "Do you believe we'll go out and kill you? Dream on if you think you'll get any money, Mr. Shu. Watch your language," the police officer sternly warned. Linda, however, was acting very strangely at this moment, her expression frenzied and her tone urgent. "Kathy, you lied to me. That bracelet is fake. You deliberately left it there for me to steal, didn't you, officer?" "She did it on purpose. She deliberately tricked me into stealing her bracelet." I looked at her with amusement. At least she had some brains, even if she guessed right. "So what, Linda, did I force your hand to make you steal? That bracelet was something I bought not long ago. The invoice and certificate are all here. If you think it's fake, you can ask the police to have it appraised." Linda seemed not to hear what I said and continued talking to herself. "But why? How could you know? You're also reborn, aren't you? Aren't you? Are you out of your mind, officer? She's the one who went crazy. It has nothing to do with me." The police were also speechless at this family and nodded without saying a word. Uncle Sam suddenly slammed the table. "Is this how you treat your own uncle? Let me tell you, we just won't give you the money. See what you can do about it." I smiled indifferently. "Uncle, I'm in no hurry. You can take your time thinking it over in the detention center. The evidence is solid, and the court will enforce the judgment." Aunt panicked at the mention of jail and tried to ease the tension. "Kathy, we really don't have that much money. Can you lower the amount?" "No, for 5 million, not a penny less." Linda seemed to have regained her composure and turned to Sam. "Dad, agree to it. We can't spend our last days in the detention center." Sam's eyes were filled with hatred and resentment. "Fine, 4.5 million it is. We're all in detention now and can't gather the money, give us some time, 20 days. And we'll pay you every last cent. Okay, at this point, this family still thinks they can trick me, I sneered coldly. Uncle, do you take me for a fool? The settlement agreement gets signed when the money hits my account, not a moment sooner. Detention is no place to stay. If the whole family of 4 remains locked up until society collapses, it'll be too late for anything by then. I did leave them some money for supplies, after all. Even a cornered rabbit will bite. They need at least a sliver of hope, when they think they're finally ready, only to end up with nothing. That's true despair. Sure enough, 7 days later, 5 million arrived in my account, and I had my lawyer sign the settlement agreement. There's so much to prepare for the apocalypse, no time to waste on them every day. In the hotel's luxury suite, I frowned in thought while holding a cup of iced Americano. Even if I have space to survive, there's no guarantee I won't be targeted by those with ill intentions. Being a lone wolf in the apocalypse is too dangerous. In the previous life, City A had countless factions, but the most powerful were the Dragon Society and the Night Eagle Society. These two gangs had been the largest criminal organizations in City A for decades. In recent years, with the government's crackdown on crime and organized gangs, both groups began to whitewash their operations, shifting from overt to covert activities. In her past life, Linda was a high-ranking member of the Dragon Society, leaving me with only one choice, the Night Hawks. The Night Hawks had a decent reputation post-apocalypse, never looting supplies from ordinary people. During my time being sold to the Dragon Society, I often heard about the Night Hawk supplies mysteriously disappearing, likely all Linda's doing. Later, internal issues arose within the Night Hawks, and after their leader Bruce was injured, he vanished without a trace. The Night Hawks were left leaderless, leading to internal turmoil and ultimately being swallowed up by the Dragon Society. The Howard family's ancestral home is located on Purple Mountain in City A, with their domains stretching from the mountainside to the summit. I only learned this after the apocalypse, when the place became a stronghold for the Night Hawks. At the moment, I was squatting helplessly by the roadside outside the Howard family's ancestral home. Without an appointment, I couldn't get in, and the security guards weren't willing to pass on a message for me. After a long wait, the grand gate opened, and Bruce emerged in a luxurious business car. I don't know where I got the courage, but I rushed to the middle of the road and spread my arms to stop the car. The driver slammed on the brakes, and the car screeched to a halt right in front of me. Fuming, he flung open the door and started yelling at me. Are you out of your mind, young and not learning anything good, stopping cars like in some TV drama? Do you care more about money than your life? Ignoring the driver's furious tirade, I shouted toward the car, Mr. Bruce, I have something very important to tell you. Please give me just 1 minute. If what I say doesn't interest you after that, I'll leave immediately. Bruce glanced at her. Normally, he would never entertain such matters, but today, he had a hunch that he needed to hear what this young lady had to say. Bruce said to the security guard outside, bring her over. Through the slightly ajar window, Bruce tilted his chin up, signaling me to continue. Mr. Bruce, what I'm about to say is extremely important and requires an absolutely secure environment. Right now, I can only tell you that I know about a certain room in your house filled with an entire arsenal of weapons. Bruce's eyes instantly turned sharp. He rolled down the window, grabbed my throat with one hand, and said fiercely, you're asking for death. The sudden attack startled me, and the choking sensation in my throat filled me with panic. Instinctively, I tried to pry his hand away, but the disparity in strength made my efforts futile. Just as I thought I was going to die, the pressure on my neck suddenly loosened. I collapsed to the ground, coughing violently, and it took me a long time to catch my breath. An inexplicable sense of grievance surged in my heart. The painful memories from my past life, combined with the despair of nearly dying just now, overwhelmed me, and I burst into uncontrollable sobs. Are you out of your mind? I hadn't even finished speaking, and you started choking me. Do you have some kind of anger disorder? Everything I was about to tell you was to save you. I must be out of my damn mind to come looking for you. After shouting, he stood up and turned to walk out. Stop. Take her to the study. Inside the study, after calming down, I recounted everything about the apocalypse from my previous life and all matters related to Bruce. Bruce remained silent for a long time after listening. Miss Kathy, do you have any evidence to prove what you're saying about the apocalypse? I don't, but Mr. Bruce, you'll see for yourself in 10 days, given your financial resources. Spending a little money to stock up on supplies is nothing. Even if the apocalypse doesn't come, you can always sell those supplies later, and the loss would be minimal for you." Bruce nodded in agreement. "Then, Miss Kathy, what do you want from me? I hope that after the apocalypse, Mr. Bruce will offer me protection. Is there nothing else you need?" I shook my head. I had already prepared all the necessary supplies, enough to last me a lifetime. The space had a preservation function, so nothing would spoil. "Why did you choose me?" "Because during the last extreme cold, I nearly froze to death on the roadside. It was you who passed by and threw me a military coat, saving my life. Even if it's just to repay this life-saving favor, I can't let you repeat the mistakes of your past life." Time passed quickly, and it was already 2 days before the apocalypse. My newly purchased house is in Nathan Manor, not far from the Howard family's ancestral home. After the apocalypse, this place will also become the Nighthawk Society. I sat on the sofa, listening to Leo report the latest situation about my uncle's family. Leo is the private detective I hired, and he's been keeping an eye on my uncle's family ever since they were released from detention. Leo told me they've been searching for me relentlessly, especially Linda, who's practically gone mad, asking everyone who knows me about my whereabouts. Of course, I know Linda still covets my space bracelet, but in this lifetime, she's destined never to possess it. Leo mentioned that Sam's family rented a house in JL Manor and has been moving things in non-stop since their release, probably filling the place to the brim by now. A house full of supplies. It seems their family still has quite a bit of money left. I'll gladly take it for myself. After covering myself completely, I easily opened the door of Sam's rented apartment with the expensive universal key I had bought. Leo wasn't exaggerating at all. The place was packed, with boxes everywhere, leaving no room to even step. After carefully checking that there were no surveillance cameras inside, I started collecting everything, not even sparing the furniture. 10 minutes later, looking at the empty house, I smiled with great satisfaction, clapped my hands, and left, to fully appreciate the dramatic reactions of the family of 4 when they discovered their supplies were gone. I had secretly installed several hidden cameras in inconspicuous spots. After returning home, I turned on my computer, multitasking while waiting. It wasn't until evening that the sound of the door opening finally came. When the Sam family stepped into their home, they were utterly shocked by the sight before them. The room that had been packed with supplies was now completely empty. Not even the furniture remained. Auntie was the first to scream, her fingers trembling as she pointed around. "What's going on?" "Our supplies. All our reserves, they're all gone." Jim's face turned ashen in an instant. He rushed to the corner where the supplies had been piled, frantically searching, but only touched the cold wall. He turned around and roared, "This can't be. Who did this? How could all our supplies just vanish into thin air?" Linda's face instantly turned pale, as if she had realized something. With a trembling voice, he said, It's Kathy. She activated her spatial ability. It must have been her who came here and took all our supplies." Uncle Sam's rage erupted like a volcano as he roared, "That little bitch, how dare she do this to us? I'll make her regret ever being born." Auntie completely lost control of her emotions, shrieking in a piercing voice, "We're finished. Without supplies, how will we survive? I told you back then to just kill all 3 of them, but you insisted on sparing the little one, saying the police might suspect something and we could finish her off later. And now look, she's grown wings and come back to take revenge on us. What a heartless, ungrateful wretch." The chopsticks in my hand clattered to the ground with a sharp sound. It turned out my parents' deaths were no accident. Overwhelming hatred surged through me like a tidal wave. I pulled out the machete from my space, ready to go kill them. Linda's voice continued from the surveillance footage, laced with a hint of smugness and calm. "Dad, Mom, don't worry. I've already told Luke about the apocalypse. When it really comes, Luke will protect us. Crushing Kathy will be as easy as squashing an ant." The words hit me like a bucket of cold water dumped over my head, sending a jolt through my heart. I miscalculated. If I can seek protection from Bruce, then Linda, who also reincarnated, can likewise find someone else to shelter her. Moreover, once Luke confirms the apocalypse and Linda's status within the Dragon Society rises, she will undoubtedly come after me. Seeking revenge against them will become even more difficult, and if the Dragon Society learns I possess a space, they will surely come to seize it. Linda is afraid that Luke might win me over and abandon her, so she definitely wouldn't dare tell Luke about my space now, but there's no guarantee she won't go crazy one day and spill the secret. No, I have to go find Bruce. I can't keep the space a secret from him anymore. I need to increase my importance in Bruce's eyes, or I won't be able to protect myself. Inside Bruce's study, What, a space? Bruce looked at the coffee table I had just stored in my space and then brought back out, startling him so much that he stood up from the sofa. Noticing his own reaction, he forced himself to sit back down calmly and asked, "You didn't want to tell me before, why are you willing to say it now? Besides me, there's another reincarnator, she knows I have a space. And she's already sided with Luke, the leader of the Dragon Society. No wonder Luke's side has been stockpiling supplies lately. I thought the information had leaked from my end, but it turns out this was the reason. Mr. Bruce, are you interested in playing a big game? Let's hear it, let's team up. We'll use my spatial abilities to steal Luke's entire stash. You can have all the supplies. But I want you to help me capture 4 people, and if possible, wipe out the Dragon Society." "Which 4 people?" "My uncle's family of 4. You can arrest me, but you have to tell me why. In my past life, they sold me to the Dragon Society, where I suffered torment and died. In this life, I will return all the suffering I endured 100-fold. I will make them taste the agony of living worse than death, leave them struggling in despair, with no escape from the flames of my vengeance." These painful memories surged through my heart like a tide. The cause of my parents' death. The emotions I had suppressed since my rebirth suddenly erupted, leaving me gasping for breath uncontrollably. The flames of hatred nearly consumed me. Bruce was startled by my sudden and intense reaction. He stood up, gently patted my back, and comforted me in a soft, warm voice. "Those are all things from your past life. Don't be afraid. In this life, everything is already different." After I calmed down, Bruce said, "I promise you, you'll get 30% of the Dragon Society supplies. Help me move them tonight. Once I locate Luke's supply stash, you'll assist me." I nodded in agreement. As night fell, a light rain drizzled from the sky, shrouding the city in a mysterious shadow. "Are you ready?" Bruce asked in a low voice. I nodded. The Dragon Society headquarters is located on Green Mountain in City A, while the Howard family's Purple Mountain lies to the north and south respectively. These 2 factions each occupy one of City A's high grounds. The Long Society supply storage is located within their headquarters on Green Mountain. This time, only Bruce and I entered the Long Society's compound, while the others provided support from outside. We were dressed in black night suits with camouflage paint on our faces. Nearly blending into the darkness, Bruce led me silently past the guards, avoiding surveillance cameras, moving with extreme caution at every step. However, just as we approached the back door of the warehouse, Bruce suddenly signaled me to stop and quietly gestured for me to hide. He then leaped onto a large tree in one swift motion. A few seconds later, a patrolling guard walked by. After the guard left, Bruce took out a key, unlocked the back door, and motioned for me to hurry inside. I gave him a thumbs up. Bruce was truly impressive. He managed to get the warehouse key in just one day. We tiptoed into the warehouse, which was filled with all kinds of supplies, from food to weapons, everything one could need. The Dragon Society had clearly made thorough preparations. I took a deep breath, focused my mind, and quickly stored the supplies into my space. One by one, the items vanished from the warehouse and appeared within my storage, just as the last batch of supplies was about to be stored. The warehouse alarm suddenly blared, its sharp, piercing sound shattering the night's silence. My heart sank as the alarm sounded. Blinding lights instantly illuminated the entire exterior of the Dragon Society warehouse. Bruce remained unusually calm. He quickly pulled out his phone from his pocket, tapped the screen a few times with swift fingers, and sent the signal for action. "People outside will cover us. We need to move fast." Bruce grabbed me and we sprinted toward the warehouse's back door, rushing out before the Dragon Society members could react. Just then, a sudden commotion erupted outside. Our backup had sprung into action, hurling countless smoke grenades into the warehouse. Smoke swirled in all directions as a black SUV burst through the haze, its headlights piercing the night like twin blades. The door swung open. It was Bruce's driver. "Get in, quick," he shouted. Without hesitation, we leaped into the vehicle. The driver slammed the accelerator, and the SUV roared like a wild beast, charging through the Dragon Society's encirclement with us inside. Meanwhile, inside the Dragon Society's warehouse, the guards finally broke through the chaos, only to find an empty space. Supplies, weapons, food, all had vanished without a trace, leaving nothing but bare floors behind. "How is this possible?" a guard exclaimed, shortly after. Luke stood in the center of the warehouse, his face ashen. His eyes swept across the empty floor, the fury and shock in his heart nearly suffocating him. "Damn it, Bruce," he roared, "I swear I'll never rest until you're finished." On the way back, the rain grew heavier and heavier. The apocalypse had finally arrived. When Bruce and I stole the supplies from the Dragon Society, another team set out and captured my uncle's family. Back then, my parents' car went out of control and crashed head-on into a truck, killing them instantly. This time, I returned the favor in kind, watching my uncle and aunt crushed like mud in the collision. A strange sense of satisfaction welled up inside me. As for Linda and Jim, I naturally wouldn't let them die so easily. In the early hours of June 13, 2024, the sky poured with heavy rain, and the Meteorological Bureau issued a red alert for torrential rain, urging people to stay indoors and avoid going out. At first, people didn't take it seriously. Office workers were happy because the heavy rain allowed them to work from home, and students were delighted because schools were closed due to the storm. Only the shops along the streets worried about water flooding in and damaging their goods. But gradually, no one could remain cheerful. The rain never stopped, first flooding the first floor, then the second, third, fifth, and even the 10th floor. In some low-lying areas, entire buildings were submerged. Initially, scenes of firefighters, armed police, and soldiers rushing to disaster relief could be seen every day, and the government did its best to distribute rescue supplies to everyone. People pray every day for the disaster to end quickly, but after 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, the rain still hasn't stopped. The government no longer distributes supplies for free. Firefighters, armed police, and soldiers have all disappeared, leaving the city eerily quiet. After the government relocated selected civilians into the mountains, those left behind in the city were abandoned. Panic began to set in. Those without supplies started trying to find ways to venture out and search for resources, but without boats, and with the heavy rain and countless undercurrents in the water, few who ventured out managed to return alive with supplies. One residential building after another became isolated islands. Inside, chaos gradually took hold. Social order began to collapse, and human morality started to deteriorate. Purple Mountain, however, was like a paradise untouched by the outside world. After the government left, Bruce took over the management here. Here, supplies were abundant, but the Nighthawks were no saints handing out free resources. They implemented a work-for-relief system. Only those who worked got food. Those who demanded free supplies were disciplined a few times and soon fell in line. As for the Dragon Society, due to the theft of supplies before the apocalypse and the subsequent shortage of resources leading to constant internal strife, Bruce only needed to make a slight move before they were quickly swallowed up by other factions. Luke was also killed by his own men. I stayed by Bruce's side the whole time. He was an incredibly charismatic man. Though he appeared cold on the outside, he was generous to his subordinates and valued loyalty. His people deeply respected him. Bruce personally taught me combat and shooting every day. He was an excellent teacher, and I improved with each passing day. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, the 3rd year of the apocalypse has passed. Linda was tortured to death as early as the 2nd year of the apocalypse. When I spared her life, the Night Eagle Society supplies naturally wouldn't be given to them. Jim couldn't bear hunger. Sold Linda to a less scrupulous small organization. She went through everything I endured in my previous life. The extreme heat began to return, and government departments that had been hiding in the mountains gradually came back. Bruce led the Nighthawks to retreat behind the scenes. Social order slowly recovered, with large-scale construction projects everywhere, creating a thriving scene. Brilliant fireworks lit up the sky as Bruce took out a ring and knelt on one knee. "Kathy, will you marry me?" I laughed, recalling Bruce's initial coldness when we first met. And then his gradually tender and considerate care as we spent time together. A warm feeling flickered in my heart. I reached out my hand and softly replied, "I do." After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, let's continue to see another similar story. The apocalypse has arrived. I obtained a jade pendant space, ensuring my family's basic needs for food, water, and safety were met. Yet, my parents and younger brother grew insatiably greedy, convinced I was hoarding extra supplies. In my moment of exhaustion, they pushed me into a horde of zombies. Reborn, my younger brother threatened me to hand over the jade pendant, declaring he would become the king of the apocalypse base. This time, I gave him the pendant. "Sis, give me the jade pendant, hurry." My younger brother suddenly burst into my room, pushed me to the ground, grabbed my collar, and frantically searched my neck while demanding, "Where's the jade pendant? Where is it?" I instinctively kicked out, sending him crashing into the desk with a pained expression. I suddenly realized I had returned to my room before the apocalypse arrived. Had I been reborn, I had actually been reborn. Sis, you've been reborn too, haven't you? Otherwise, how would you dare to kick me? My brother rubbed the sore spot. His face twisted with excitement. Where's the jade pendant? Hurry and give it to me. I need to drip blood on it to claim ownership. At that moment, Mom and Dad also entered the room. Judy, hand over the jade pendant. Mom glared at me fiercely. We've all been reborn, and if you don't give it now, we'll beat you to death right here. Hurry up. Dad kicked out, and I quickly dodged. I remembered the agony of being bitten and torn apart by zombies, and my whole body still trembled at the thought. So you can dodge now, you've been reborn too. Then I won't bother explaining. Hand over the jade pendant. Now, I quickly begged for mercy. Mom and Dad, please don't hit me. The jade pendant isn't on me right now. I'll find it immediately. Pretending to be terrified, I shakily got up while searching, thinking to myself, after they pushed me into the zombie horde in my past life, they must have taken my jade pendant. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't get it to recognize a new owner. Now, their frantic demand for me to hand it over clearly means they're trying to seize the first ownership opportunity. Since you want it so badly, here you go. I retrieved a thumb-sized, dark green jade from the inner pages of a thick copy of A Brief History of Time. I had bought it from a second-hand dealer during a trip for just over $300. Who would have thought this could be a space? I had just taken it out when my younger brother snatched it away, immediately biting his finger with his teeth to draw blood and dripping it onto the jade. Ha ha ha, I've got a space now. Bob, hurry, try it. Can you store things inside? Mom and Dad were flushed with excitement. In the blink of an eye, they had gathered every usable item in the house, leaving nothing behind. I secretly rejoiced, thinking, go ahead, take as much as you can. By the time they realized I was still there, over 10 minutes had passed. Mom suggested tying me up and throwing me to the zombies later, fearing I might seek revenge. Putting on a pitiful face, I feigned sorrow and said, Mom, Dad, you can't do this to me. This jade pendant space has many functions. If you kill me, what if my brother encounters something he doesn't know how to use? This made Mom hesitate. Dad immediately had my younger brother check the spatial function, clearly intending to figure it out right away and then kill me to eliminate any future trouble. I was utterly heartbroken. The current Mom and Dad were even more ruthless than in my past life. I was their daughter too. In my past life, I suffered so much just so the three of them could have food and warmth. Why were they treating me like this? Little brother, for the sake of how well I've treated you, please ask Mom and Dad to spare my life. I'll definitely be useful later, I pleaded in a low voice, reminding him because they had once tried to trade me to a base leader in exchange for a place to live. Bob looked at me smugly, his face full of arrogance, then seemed to remember something and said to our parents, forget it, after all, she is my sister. Mom, Dad, you can have her help with chores. When the apocalypse comes, we'll still need someone to cook and do laundry. It's good to keep her around. It'll save Mom the trouble. Our parents thought it made sense and agreed. You stay here and clean up the house properly. We're going out, and when we return, I expect dinner to be ready and the laundry hung up. Mom assigned me several days' worth of tasks in one go and threatened that if I didn't finish, I'd face consequences. The apocalypse was arriving tomorrow. Time was tight. The three of them immediately went out to stock up on supplies, locking me inside the house. As I was about to leave, Mom turned back and took my phone too. I looked at the half-emptied house. Messy, as if it had been robbed. In my past life, I had protected them too well. They had barely stepped outside and had no idea what the world was like. If they thought the jade pendant made them invincible, they were in for a rude awakening. I opened my backpack, packed some essential supplies, and set up a little surprise in the kitchen. Then I smashed open the doors and windows and escaped. Fortunately, my ID card wasn't taken, so I rushed to the bank to apply for a loan. But I only managed to secure a $20,000 student aid loan. This was far from enough. I bought a durable new phone and took a taxi straight to City B, where the largest state-managed base established during the apocalypse, Sunlight Base, was located. The 3-hour ride felt agonizingly long. I immediately searched for local supermarkets online and placed orders for a large quantity of supplies to be delivered the same day, requesting arrival around 10 p.m. The delivery address was set to the entrance of YD Community. YD Community was situated on relatively high ground, with a vast residential area and well-connected transportation routes. It wasn't located in a bustling district, so after the apocalypse arrived, it would be incorporated into Sunlight Base and become part of the residential zone. Upon arriving at YD Community, the gate was open, and security wasn't strict. I hurried straight to room 001 on the 8th floor. Found the key hidden in the hallway flower pot. And finally breathed a sigh of relief. Only after opening the door to 8001 did I truly feel at ease. The 3-bedroom apartment in Unit 8001 was a place I'd heard about in my previous life. The original owner was a military officer who was often away on missions, and with his parents no longer around, the house had been left vacant. Later, the officer reportedly revealed the key's hiding spot in the flower pot and donated the property for communal use. I changed the online delivery address to request delivery to 8001, and seeing that there were still 2 hours left, I added more items to the cart to have them delivered together. Then, without stopping, I went downstairs to various small supermarkets to buy more. Since I didn't have much money left, I couldn't buy much and could only stock up on some essential items. After making several trips, I finally felt like I had enough. I collapsed on the sofa, exhausted, after a quick shower. I went out again to stock up on a few bottles of body wash, shampoo, some towels, and snacks. I picked out several snacks I had always craved in my previous life. Back then, whenever I found something tasty, I could hardly bear to eat it myself and would bring it all home, hoping to earn praise from Mom and Dad. Yet, they never once complimented me, because of my brother Bob, who always said it wasn't enough and even claimed the snacks I brought back were trash. He even made me go out in the dead of night to find him endless chicken wings. My parents told me to go out and search, saying if I couldn't find it, I shouldn't come back that night. It was that very night I got bitten by a zombie. After burning with fever all night, I awakened a speed-based superpower. That night was excruciating. When I returned, Mom and Dad still gave me cold looks, showing no concern that I had just brushed with death. My brother Bob, furious that he didn't get his chicken wings, even split my head open. Blood dripped down and landed on the jade pendant, a small spherical charm carved from jade, and I unlocked another space. I kept my superpower and the existence of the jade pendant a secret, along with the connection between the superpower, the pendant, and the dimensional space. What they didn't know was that the jade's dimensional space had limits, to take things out or expand the space. I had to exchange supplies or superpowers with it. There was one more crucial secret. The jade consisted of a pair of pendants, one mother and one child. Now, my brother holds the mother pendant, while the child pendant remains in my possession. Mother Jade feeds the child Jade. All resources consumed by the mother Jade are mostly transferred to my child Jade's space. Just thinking about it excites me. Unfortunately, the child Jade hasn't been active long enough to hold much yet. In my past life, I often refused to store their luggage, wanting to save space for more food. Yet they misunderstood it as me unwilling to open up my space. Every time I think about it, I wish I could shake my past self awake. Why did I still beg for love and care from such cold-blooded and cruel family members? Carrying 2 large bags of snacks symbolically, I stepped into the elevator, now completely out of money. I walked toward room 8001, as soon as I opened the door. I never expected someone to be hiding in the room. He immediately pinned me against the wall, slamming me so hard I nearly got a concussion. "Who are you?" A man's voice, with a crew cut, dressed in green, the original homeowner. "Am I this unlucky? Didn't they say they never come home?" Perhaps seeing that I'm a woman, he loosened his grip slightly, but his calm eyes scrutinized me thoroughly, and he even kicked aside the snacks I had brought back. Buying so many snacks. He seemed to remember something and suddenly let go of me. "So you're the Rose my mom mentioned?" I had no idea what he was talking about, so I could only pretend to look a bit wronged, hoping that as a soldier, he would be kind and upright and not bully an innocent civilian. He sighed helplessly. "I've already told my mom not to introduce girls to me. I never expected she'd even give you the key, but my mom is no longer here, and even if you come to me, I can't take care of you." Suddenly understanding the scenario he implied, I immediately squeezed out a few tears. "I'm sorry, I didn't know you disagreed. I'll find a way to look for a place tomorrow and move out. I won't disturb you." "Tisk, I'm not telling you to leave right away." The man, over 6 feet tall, seemed to have just returned and hadn't even changed his clothes yet, looking at me with a complicated expression. "You can stay for now. Move out once you find a place." Thank you for taking me in." I hurriedly tried to crawl into the room, but after a few steps, I turned back to grab the snacks, locked the door behind me. When I returned to the room, it just occurred to me that the supplies I bought online would arrive soon. With so many items and such a commotion, it would definitely alert him. Damn it, why does it have to be such a coincidence? Thankfully, he didn't mistake her for a thief and shoot her on the spot, thanks to his mom. And thanks to Rose. As soon as the supermarket delivery arrived, I immediately opened the door and waited, carrying bags big and small to another room. In the end, it disturbed him. He looked at my supplies and surprisingly said nothing, then closed the door. I'm happy to keep hoarding. Nearly $20,000 worth of stuff isn't actually that much, mostly rice, flour, oil, and other staples. After closing the door securely again, I felt completely at ease. The apocalypse is coming tonight. And the world will change drastically tomorrow. There's no way I'll be kicked out of here. 3 rooms, 2 of which I've packed to the brim. Even my own bedroom is so full I can barely walk. Once the jade pendant space expands, I'll be able to store everything. Content. I lay on the bed and took out my phone, forgot to check on the 3 ghosts at home. While the internet and appliances are still working these 2 days, I'll take one last look. Logged into the monitoring software and entered the account. It was almost midnight, and they had just returned home. I noticed they had even brought my brother's girlfriend along, which amused me. His girlfriend, Bella, was also quite a remarkable figure. They entered the house, searched for me first but couldn't find me, then noticed the broken doors and windows. Mom and Dad started cleaning up while cursing me. My younger brother was immersed in his dream of being the king of the base. Lying on the messy sofa in the living room, resting with his eyes closed while organizing the supplies he had bought today. Mom, Dad, keep it down, it's so noisy. That bitch left, so let her go. We have plenty of supplies. What's there to fear? Later, when she's desperate, she'll definitely come crawling back to us. Yeah, old woman, go cook. Dad also lay down to rest, turning on the TV, ready to wait for the apocalypse to arrive. Mom glanced at the few people in the living room and then gave Bella a few looks, clearly wanting her to go cook, but Bella was sharp. She stayed close to my brother, chatting with him. His girlfriend was very interested in his space and asked him to give it a try. His younger brother thought it was perfect timing, as he had previously stored too much miscellaneous furniture and wanted to take some out, but soon, he frowned, probably starting to realize the rules of using the space. The jade pendant space didn't require any prompts or restrictions for putting things in, but when taking things out, it demanded food of equal volume or weight in exchange. This meant that most of the supplies stored inside would have to be given to the space. This was also the reason why, in my past life, even though I had the space and supplies, I wasn't well off. Most of the time, I couldn't bear to exchange supplies. So I used my abilities instead, which stunted the growth of my powers. Damn it, we still have to give it supplies. My brother fumed angrily. Dad, find a way to contact my sister. There must still be some issues with this space. My dad instantly tensed up. This was the lifeline for our entire family. He went to the kitchen to find my mom, but suddenly, with a loud boom, the kitchen exploded. My dad hadn't entered yet, so he was fine, but my mom's face and one of her hands were left a bloody mess. What the hell? My brother snapped. Seeing the 2 elders collapsed on the ground but not bothering to help them up, his tone was beyond irritated. I asked you to cook a meal, and you blew up the kitchen. Useless. How can you talk like that? Dad finally showed some concern for his wife. She's your mother, can't you see she's hurt? Hurry up and get the first aid kit. My younger brother reluctantly brought the first aid kit. Mom kept wailing in pain, unable to rest, unable to eat supper, and too scared to order takeout because the apocalypse had already arrived. Bella hadn't believed in the apocalypse until the news started reporting various incidents. She got scared. As an orphan with no parents, relatives, or friends, her only support was Bob, so she volunteered to cook noodles, at least to fill everyone's stomachs. I smiled. The real show was yet to come. I slept peacefully through the night and woke up the next day to find people scrambling for food everywhere. I noticed the man was no longer in the room, probably out saving the world. Then I cooked some breakfast. Eating alone with no one to worry about felt truly liberating. Such days are so rare. I searched the room and found a photocopy of the man's ID. His name was Jack. This name sounds somewhat familiar. Turn on the TV, munching on snacks while keeping an eye on people's livelihoods, casually checking the home surveillance. I was shocked to find Bella and Mom fighting because Bella refused to serve her. I'm not some maid who came here just to serve you. Eat it or not, I won't cook for you anymore. Bella always saw herself as a fairy. She hated cooking the most, having been forced to do it for years in the orphanage. In my past life, when she came to find Bob, I was the one who cooked. She was pregnant and extremely picky about food. I risked my life to find her a few cans of maternity milk powder. Yet she incited my brother to steal my spatial jade pendant. claiming I must be hoarding the good stuff. This time around, my mother won't be so accommodating. Though her face and hands were injured, her legs were fine. She kicked out with one leg. You're living in my house, eating and drinking. All of it is my son's. How dare you hit me? I'll have my son throw you out, you old hag. How dare you kick me? The two of them wrestled, pulling each other's hair wildly. Enough, are you two done fighting? Bob had just woken up. I've got rice and supplies in my spatial storage. Can't you three manage to cook a single meal? Bella almost stayed hidden in her room afterward. Mom wanted to find me, but she had taken my phone, so there was no way to contact me. I stayed at 8001 for a few days. After the apocalypse began, the situation here was quickly brought under control by the military. Jack occasionally came back to stay for a night, often appearing and disappearing mysteriously. While there weren't many zombies yet, I went out with a backpack and a short knife. The longer it dragged on, the scarcer supplies would become. Mainly, I also hoped to regain my supernatural ability, using it to expand the subspace within the Jade Pendant a bit more. Otherwise, I wouldn't feel at ease with that whole room of supplies just sitting there conspicuously, other than coming into contact with the zombie virus. I don't know any other way to regain my powers. I killed a few low-level zombies and arrived in front of a small convenience store, but the supplies had already been looted. A small convoy was ahead, with a military truck at the front. Someone got out of the truck. My landlord, Jack, right, now I remember. Jack was one of the prominent figures in the early days of Sunlight Base, with an excellent reputation among the people. The reason it's early days is that he died later. I searched around but couldn't find a suitable opportunity to encounter zombies. Instead, I overheard a lot of gossip. A bespectacled man in his 30s, tall and thin, was complaining about Jack. What's the captain thinking, treating these lowlifes so well? He even takes things from his own home for them to use. But do they know how to be grateful? No, they just complain that the military can't provide food and shelter. Damn it, a bunch of worthless scum, even spitting at me. She had seen this person before. He had been active in the base later on and became one of the base leader's subordinates. Forget it, the captain must have his reasons. Lee, hurry up and write the report. The expansion of our base depends on you, the deputy captain said. Where has the captain gone again? Lee glanced toward the convoy. The deputy captain replied, we just received a notification to rescue people at a nearby middle school. I'm on standby to see if backup is needed. I stole a glance and noticed the deputy captain's unusually grim expression. After the bespectacled Lee left, a long-haired girl approached. Though she spoke softly, I still overheard their conspiracy. If Jack were in trouble, they would delay the rescue. After some thought, I quietly followed them. The junior high section wasn't far, just a few minutes' walk, near the school playground. I encountered several students being chased by zombies. I climbed over the wall and took down the undead. Thank you, classmate, let's hurry, there's a military rescue team at the school gate. I ran after them, but before we could reach the campus entrance, a large group of students came rushing toward us. Run, the number of zombies at the gates suddenly increased. I moved against the tide of the crowd. At the school gate, dozens of soldiers were putting up a fierce resistance. Hundreds of zombies that had appeared out of nowhere had already bent the iron fence, creating a small gap. The zombies can't get in yet. A few brave junior high school boys were also helping, but Captain Jack persuaded them to retreat behind the iron gate. I stood by the gap in the gate, just wide enough for one zombie to squeeze through, which actually made it an ideal spot for taking them down. If a zombie reached in with a hand, I chopped it off. If it stuck its head through, I lopped it off. I took 2 knives out from the Jade Pendant space and tossed them to the 2 male students still standing nearby, clearly consumed by bloodlust. They grabbed the knives and joined me in swiftly cutting down the enemies. With everyone's efforts, the number of zombies temporarily decreased, allowing the soldiers to retreat inside the gate for a brief rest. I saw Jack walking toward us. You've got quite the nerve. Then he asked about our class, name, and age. I couldn't answer. Jack glanced at me a few times but didn't ask anything. Watching the zombies gathering outside the gate one after another, he called his deputy for rescue. I thought to myself, this rescue might not come, and even the zombies outside could be the doing of his deputy. Jack, there's a level 2 zombie on the playground. It took half an hour for Jack to kill the level 2 zombie. When he returned, he was slightly injured. He was forced into quarantine. I brought him some food and hot water. The soldiers asked me to keep an eye on him, as they all thought Jack and I were quite familiar. All right, you guys go ahead with your work, I'll keep an eye on him. After giving him some warm water to drink, I took out some 8 treasure porridge from the jade pendant and handed it to him. He glanced at it, eating while smiling. "You've got quite a stash hidden away." I shot him a look and didn't say a word. "What's your name?" His words startled me. He had finally realized I wasn't the Rose his mother had mentioned. "My name is Judy. He has a fever, and the high temperature won't subside." I could only keep trying to lower his temperature physically. I searched the space but found no fever-reducing medicine. Thinking about the kind of person he is, such an upright and handsome officer is rare. It would be a shame to lose him. The Sunshine Base also needs him. I picked up the phone and called my younger brother, Bob. "Hey, little bro, Judy, oh, you're still alive, girl, you actually called me." Bob was clearly surprised, but soon, his arrogant tone took over again. "What, can't survive out there anymore?" "Yeah, I'm about to die." I feigned weakness. "But little brother, you've discovered the secret of the space too, haven't you?" On the phone, Mom was cursing at me again, calling me a wretched bitch, asking where I'd run off to, saying I might as well die out there. Bob told the others to shut up. Clearly, he wanted to have a serious talk with me about the jade pendant space. "Sis," Bob's tone softened, "there is indeed an issue with the jade pendant space. Just tell me how to solve it, and once it's fixed, you're always welcome to come back home." I sneered inwardly. Now the initiative was firmly in my hands. I told him about the jade pendant having a companion piece, but explained that I'd given the companion piece to a friend who now refuses to return it unless I can prove it originally belonged to me. "How can I prove it?" Bob immediately pressed. "You could exchange some less essential medicines, like antivirals or fever reducers. If my companion piece receives those medicines, it would successfully prove they're a matched set." "Sis, I'm not that foolish, am I? You're short on medicine over there, right?" Bob burst into laughter. "If you want proof, I can give you some flour, but medicine is out of the question." I casually replied, "Either is fine, flour or rice will do. You know, the space only accepts edible resources." I was afraid you wouldn't give me rice, so I switched to asking for medicine. My brother was fooled by me. I knew he was inherently suspicious, and with such an ambiguous answer, he couldn't figure out what I really needed. "Sis, I can give you everything you want, but you must bring back that jade pendant." I scoffed. "Fine, keep it if you won't give it. I don't need it anyway." I immediately hung up the phone. Then I checked the surveillance feed. Inside the house, Mom was having another episode. Her wounds hadn't healed and were festering as she rambled in the living room, saying she had to find me or else there'd be no one to cook meals. Only then did I realize, everyone had lost a significant amount of weight. My younger brother also wanted to call me back, but I don't know where sister is now. That damn girl, she even dared to hang up on me. Dad took the phone and called me, throwing out a command. "I'm telling you to get your ass back here right now, and bring that jade pendant with you. Do you hear me?" "Humph. He still thinks he's the head of the household. Tell your little brother to exchange the items first, otherwise there's no discussion. Anyway, I'll have plenty of supplies in the future, and you can't possibly avoid using the space's resources forever. Besides, my sub-jade pendant can reciprocate, meaning the supplies I have can be returned to you if I choose to, and if I don't, there's nothing you can do about it." This statement made their blood boil. "You have 10 minutes to decide, or don't come looking for me ever again. I'm just giving you this one chance now." In the end, the younger brother agreed to exchange medicine and some food for me. I got the fever-reducing medicine, turned off my phone, carefully checked the medication, and gave it to Jack to take. The next day, Jack awakened a metal-based ability. This time, Jack led the teachers and students to safely evade the zombie horde. I took out some of the food from the space and pretended it was found by Jack to help stabilize morale. The rescue team arrived late, and the deputy leader even looked apologetic, saying they were delayed dealing with another group of zombies. I reminded Jack to keep an eye on his deputy leader. I went back to 8001 alone. I've been infected with the zombie virus. Burning with fever and half-conscious, I felt someone touching my forehead. It was cool. I took some fever-reducing medicine. It's not a big deal. If I can pull through, I'll gain supernatural abilities. Without the burden of the Mother Jade pendant this time, my powers are bound to be even stronger. When I woke up, I smelled the aroma of rice porridge. Jack sat nearby, awake. After drinking the porridge and resting, I tested my abilities and unexpectedly gained ice-based powers. Different from my previous life, I turned on my phone again. Dozens of missed calls. My younger siblings must be furious by now. There's no way they're getting the jade pendant, and as for the supplies, that's even more impossible. Power outages had already occurred everywhere, and water sources were becoming scarce. Since the establishment of the base in YD community, the backup generator could still be used occasionally. But other areas weren't so fortunate. There's no way I can stay at home any longer, it's their turn to suffer now. Look how hideous the zombies in this world are. Estimating they'd flee in a panic, I video called them, mainly worried their phones might die, otherwise I could have waited longer to call. As expected, my parents' phones were turned off. When I called Bob, I was munching on endless chicken wings while watching TV. "Hey, little bro, long time no see," I said. He answered instantly, "Sis, stop messing around, I'm begging you." Bob's clothes were torn, his hair disheveled, his face sallow, and his voice filled with panic. "Where are you? You actually have chicken wings to eat. Mom's already gone. Come back quickly to see Dad. He's losing his mind too." I found it rather strange. No matter how bad things got, he still had his spatial ability, though his food reserves weren't plentiful. Joining any small team shouldn't have left him in such a wretched state. "What about your girlfriend, Bella?" I asked. "Don't mention that damn woman. She stole my jade pendant and ran off. If I ever see her again, I'll kill her." "Sis, it was her who pushed Mom into the zombie horde. Come back and stand up for me, help me get revenge." "Oh, maybe later. I'm lying here quite comfortably now and don't feel like moving." These words were deliberately fed back to him. In my previous life, when I was surrounded by zombies and asked for his help, he said the exact same thing to me, tit for tat. Realizing my indifference, my younger brother suddenly knelt down. "Please, sis, I really can't go on like this. I wronged you in our past life, sis." When Jack came back, he happened to see me on a video call. I turned my head and continued watching my brother's performance. "Sister, as long as you're willing to forgive me, I'll do anything you ask. Please, sister, my phone is about to die. I'm just waiting for you to call me back. In my past life, I was a beast. I shouldn't have treated you that way. What can I do for you to forgive me?" "Oh," I sneered, "I'd also like to see you get gnawed by zombies, down to the bones. If you can manage that, then I'll come find you." Bob suddenly turned pale. "Sis, I truly know I was wrong. Please, sis." I hung up the phone and blocked him. Jack stood behind me. I turned around and retorted, "What, do you have a problem with it?" "Not at all. I just wanted to see what your brother looks like, so if I ever run into him, I can feed him to the zombie horde." I chuckled. "Go eat. I kept it warm in the pot for you." He brought out a bowl and sat down with me. "Taken care of." I was asking about that deputy team leader of his. "Yeah, fed him to the zombies too," he said between bites. "How did you know it was him?" I have piercing eyes that can see through past and present lives, but at first, I thought Lee was the one with issues. The man smiled. "Lee, there is indeed a small issue, but it's nothing serious." Later, I followed him out to fight zombies, and my ice-based abilities improved by leaps and bounds. The supplies we collected also kept increasing. Lee became the top leader of the base, excelling at writing good articles, cooking in the kitchen, and killing zombies. Once I asked about Jack's background, and Lee exclaimed in surprise, "Jack doesn't have a mother, he came from an orphanage." When Jack's high fever subsided, he stared at the jade pendant that had accidentally slipped out from my neck, his pupils contracting sharply. "This jade material, it's the ecological arc components stolen by the military 20 years ago." He abruptly pulled open his collar. The same dark green jade plaque was embedded below his collarbone, only with more intricate patterns. The 3 jade pendants were originally one. His fingertips traced the energy patterns rising from the jade surface. "The mother pendant devours. The child pendant purifies, and my central pendant can control the other 2. No wonder the base collapsed so quickly in his previous life. The absence of the central pendant had caused the mother pendant to go completely berserk. 3 days later, we raided the black market where Bella was hiding. In the dim warehouse, she was trading viral weapons with foreign forces using the mother pendant, while in a corner cage, Bob had been mutilated into a human stump, floating in nutrient fluid. "Sis, save me," he repeated mechanically, his head riddled with electrodes. The overuse of the mother pendant had turned him into a living battery. "The central pendant is on Jack," Bella suddenly shrieked, lunging for the control panel. "Detonate all the hordes." "No one will." As an ice spike pierced her forehead, I crushed the mother pendant's receiver. Amid the swirling jade dust, Bob's body rapidly carbonized, his final lip movement forming the words, "I'm sorry." The awakening of the central pendant brought an eerie order to the zombie hordes. We tracked the signal to an abandoned research facility, only to find a curled-up girl in a cultivation pod, the zombie king, with the same birthmark as mine. the pendant around her neck resonated with my child pendant, and the lullaby she hummed was in the same ancient dialect my mother used to sing me to sleep. Twin test subjects 0 and 1. Jack pulled up the encrypted files. Survivors of the Ark Project, 20 years ago, also my biological sister. His voice was hoarse. Mother defected with the jade pendant to protect you, but was ultimately hunted down and silenced, the final choice. Suddenly, my sister opened her eyes, and the jade pendant emitted a crimson glow. Sister, only by eliminating humanity can we rebuild the ecosystem. A tide of corpses surged toward the base like a black tsunami. Jack's core pendant began to overload. The only solution was for someone to sacrifice themselves to activate the purification program, just as our mother had done years ago. This time, it's my turn to protect you. He smiled and pressed the jade plaque on his chest, but my ice spike pierced the core of his pendant faster. Did you forget? The child pendant's host is the purification vessel. As a colossal beam of light swallowed the world, I heard the sound of my own body shattering. 3 years later, children at the Sunlight Base played on the ice-carved slide. Jack, seated in a wheelchair, gently touched the rice stalks in the ecological farm. The core pendant preserved your consciousness, but your body still needs time to regenerate. Before he could finish, a straw-hatted girl dashed through the golden wheat fields, her hair adorned with glistening ice beads. Brother, the watermelons are ripe. He smiled as he watched me sprint toward him. The half of the core pendant hidden beneath his military uniform. Back then, I had already transferred my consciousness to the sub-pendant, and what was sacrificed was merely an ice puppet formed by my powers. The setting sun illuminated the sub-pendant, revealing faintly carved words on its inner surface. May this body become an ark for the world. When moonlight soaked the windowsill of room 8001, I was watering the newly sprouted ice crystal vines. Suddenly, Jack wrapped his arms around me from behind, sliding a metal ring onto my finger, a band crafted from the remnants of the core pendant, inscribed with 3 tiny lines, "To my ark, upon the ruins, all things grow wild." Cheers suddenly erupted outside the courtyard, rushing onto the balcony. I saw emerald flames, like auroras, tearing through the eternal night. The first ginkgo tree had broken through the irradiated soil, its leaves shimmering with jade-like veins. Humanity had finally learned that the strongest fortress of civilization always grows from shattered ground. That's all the story. What do you think of this story? Share with me in the comments section. What would you do if you were in this situation? Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.